But Calvin, here's the thing. Do you think that there have been some scars inflicted upon the British Caribbean community because they came here during Windrush, they endured that racism, that inequality, that open hostility, whilst a lot of first generation, for instance, African families who come here in 2010, 11, they're not going to be exposed to that or as much of that because we're quite literally a different society than we were back then?
It's an interesting perspective, but I don't think it's true. I think, when my grandparents came over here, they really, really relished the opportunity to come over here during Windrush. They celebrated it. They wanted to become Brits and they were proud to be Commonwealth citizens and all of that. And yes, they experienced a lot of racism, but we have made progress. I often say, my father experienced a lot less racism than his father, and I experienced a lot less than him. Doesn't mean we didn't experience any, and it doesn't mean that we don't need to still work on it, but we've come a long way. And I think the generation after me, the young kids that we see today, especially in inner city schools and London schools where they are no longer the minority and they're no longer experiencing racism, especially not on the level of people from the Windrush generation, what we're seeing is a loss of identity. So, for example, my grandparents, while they were proud to become British, they were also proud to be Jamaican. And my father, being born here, he's proud to be half British, half Jamaican. Whereas, we're getting to the third and fourth generations now where people are like, okay, so what is my identity? How should I identify? And what we're missing is, in schools, for example, we don't promote British values. The teaching standards say don't undermine the British values. And I think if we promoted them and gave something for people to latch onto, then they'd have that sense of belonging that every single human being needs. But because they don't have that, they're getting told left, right, and centre that the colour of their skin is the core of their identity. They're like, so what does that mean? What does it mean to be Black British or Black Caribbean British this day and age? It doesn't really mean anything because Caribbean people integrated into British society very well. There is no segregation there whatsoever. Whereas in America, which is where they often look, there's a completely different environment. African Americans are a community, and there was a lot of segregation in America, and they had a lot of race riots, and they only just reached a level of, they're just about reaching a level of equality, whereas we've had that. So when our young people are looking to American culture, hip-hop culture, African-American culture, all of that, and taking it on board, they're addressing issues and seeing issues that don't necessarily affect us. And we saw that with Black Lives Matter over last summer, where kids in London were fighting against police brutality. We don't have police brutality in this country. They're saying, take your knee off my neck and get rid of police guns, and very few police have guns over here. There's no issue with police racism in the UK. It's completely a case of us importing US drama. And that's because our kids are so lost and they don't have an identity.